Yemen National Defense Council labels Houthis as a terrorist organization. Houthi attacks on Al Dabba port risk impacting global oil supplies. Government forces defend Houthi attacks on Al Dala front. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Tasneem Qandil. The National Defense Council held an emergency session to deal with the repercussions of the Houthi attacks against the two oil harbors of Al Dabba. The Council discussed options put forward to handle the Houthi aggression, which targets international peace and security. The National Defense Council has agreed to label the Houthi as a terrorist organization. Such a move reflects the government's commitment to protecting Yemenis from the Houthi militia. The Houthi attack on Al Dabba port has drawn worldwide condemnation. The UN Special Envoy issued a statement in which he condemned the Houthi attack and asked parties to avoid escalation. This report has more on this.
UN Special Envoy for Yemen, Hans Grunberg, condemned on Saturday the Houthis' attack against Al Dabba oil terminal in Yemen's Hadramaut Governorate, warning it was a deeply worrying military escalation. Grunberg stated, "At this critical crisis, I call on the parties to show ultimate restraint and double their efforts to renew and expand the truce and lay the groundwork for a permanent ceasefire in order to activate a political process to end the conflict." On Friday, the internationally recognized government of Yemen said that its forces intercepted armed drones launched against Al Dabba oil terminal located in the town of Al-Shahr in Hadramaut Governorate as an oil tanker was preparing to dock. The incident is the first major escalation since the Houthis and the Yemeni government failed to renew the truce. The US and the EU also denounced the attack, warning that such operations hinder the flow of goods and jeopardize maritime navigation. The US Embassy in Yemen said in a statement, "We call on the Houthis to immediately halt such attacks, which are an affront to navigational rights and freedoms and jeopardize international commerce." It also said that such attacks threaten Yemen's peace and security and hamper the flow of essential goods, warning that they will only result in further economic instability across the country. The US Embassy stated, "We remind the Houthis that the world is watching their actions and that the only path forward to ending 8 years of destructive war is to de-escalate and redouble efforts to reach a durable ceasefire and end Yemen's conflict through a negotiated political statement." The EU delegation to Yemen echoed the US Embassy's warning, saying that the Houthi attacks on international shipping are an affront to core principles of the law of the sea, jeopardizing freedom of navigation through the region's waterways and blocking access to Yemeni ports. The path forward is to reduce tensions, de-escalate, and redouble efforts to end Yemen's conflict through a negotiation settlement.
The U.S. Ambassador to Yemen, Stephen Fagan, has condemned Houthi attack on Al Dabba port. Fagan called on the Houthis to immediately halt such attacks and said the only way to end the war is through de-escalation. The British Embassy issued a statement condemning Houthi attacks on the port of Al Dabba. According to the statement, the attack imposes a threat to stability in Yemen, the region, and maritime commerce, urging the Houthis to stop attacking the Yemeni people global trade routes. While the world witnesses a tough crisis in the energy sector due to the war in Ukraine, the recent Houthi attack on a key port in Hadramaut risks to impact the global oil supplies. The following report has more on this.
The oil terminal was allegedly attacked by Houthi drones as the tanker Nissos was getting ready to dock, according to the Yemeni authorities. The government said that at the time, its forces were able to intercept the drones. The oil tanker was scheduled to carry 2 million barrels of crude oil, but neither the port nor Nissos had sustained any damage. The Houthi rebels claimed that their attack was justified because they were obstructing oil smuggling. The most recent strike comes after a truce supported by the UN earlier this month expired, with no further negotiations taking place despite international pleas. The truce went into effect on April 2 for 2 months before being extended many times until October. As a result, Yemen has seen its calmest moment since the start of the conflict. While there were multiple breaches throughout the ceasefire, the absence of violence allowed for the renewal of flights and gasoline shipments to the war-torn country. The ceasefire was also critical in allowing the entry of much-needed commodities and oil into the nation. The truce has also allowed 18 fuel ships to access the Houthi-controlled port of Hodeidah, allowing hospitals and businesses to obtain fuel and medical supplies. In addition, the truce has allowed 26 gasoline tankers arriving at the port of Hodeidah. The strife-torn country has proven oil reserves for at least 3 billion barrels. However, the violence has reduced output. More than 150,000 people have been killed in Yemen during the conflict. Yemen's war has resulted in the world's biggest humanitarian disaster, with over 14 million people, or 80% of the population, in desperate need of assistance. According to the UN, the truce resulted in a 60% decrease in civilian losses and a nearly 50% decrease in displacement across the war-torn country. Meanwhile, the UN Special Envoy to Yemen, Hans Grunberg, has stated that he is continuing his attempts to negotiate an agreement between the warring parties.
The United States has started laying off a number of Yemeni employees at its embassy in Yemen. Informed sources said that Washington began a process of laying off Yemeni employees at its embassy, which it had to ask them to leave Sana'a earlier. The sources pointed out that the U.S. Embassy in Yemen informed 16 Yemeni employees residing in Cairo that 10 of them had been laid off, and the remaining 6 were transferred to work from Riyadh for a temporary period. The Arab Parliament warned of the risk of the repercussions of the sulfur oil tank. The Parliament called on the international community to save sulfur and prevent any potential environmental disasters that might affect not only Yemen, but also in the whole world, stressing at the same time the need to have a stern Arab and international position against the Houthis. Massam extracted 800 mines during the 3rd week of October, which were planted by the Houthi militia in various governorates. The center explained that the dismantled mines included 7 anti-personnel mines, 444 anti-tank mines, 340 unexploded ordnance, and 17 explosive devices, bringing the number of the mines removed since the beginning of October to 8,586. In Taiz, a Houthi cell was arrested due to the bombing and security turbulence that have prevailed the city recently. The persons involved in the bombing confessed the attack, and they revealed about the hold leaders who engineered such security unrest. The government forces defend Houthi attacks on Al Dala front. This comes in the view of constant Houthi escalation since the end of the truce on October 2nd. This report has more details.
Successive consecutive losses were received by the Houthi militia on the fronts of Al Dala combat axis, the last of which was after a failed attack towards the joint forces in Al Fakhr front, northwest of Al Dala.
The Houthi militia is stationed in these areas, and they tried to trespass to our fronts, but we thwarted their attempts and inflicted them with heavy losses. However, their attempts never stopped.
The Houthi militia launched an attack on the joint forces positions by using various weapons in their attack during the past hours, but soon the attack turned into a defense, and the militia was forced to flee, leaving behind a number of dead and wounded.
In the last few hours, the Houthi militia tried to attack our fronts. However, government forces have thwarted these attempts. The Houthi militia attacked the residential areas and armed areas. We will never settle for less than liberating our country from this militia, no matter what it costs us.
After its defeat, the Houthi militia intensified its bombardment with various heavy and medium weapons towards the sides of the joint forces in Al Fakhr front, as well as the residential areas in Habil al-Abdi and its vicinity. The artillery of the joint forces responded to them and suppressed the sources of fire.
Coming next. In Aden, community initiative to help alleviate economic hardships of Yemenis.
نزحنا من نزحة وانهم فوقنا هدموا بيوتنا. نزحت أنا وأنا بنتي بنت 7 أشهر اللي على زوجي. بعدها تمنا من نزح في نزوح. وقبل الفريق معرض منه. صيحنا زوجي وسار وداه من هنا. صار مخيم. وقبل الفريق اللي هنا وأنا وجيعي في الخيمة. وعانني البنات ودني العلاج. ساعدني لما دخلني الشركة. طولي علاج فيتامينات. جاتنا الأمطار. دخلت السيول وأنا والدة. دخلت السيل ما دهنت بالسيل له وتحتي وأنا والدة. ما قلت إلا يومين.
ولا عاد حتى قدرت أشل عيالي ما بلاتي يا بنت الصغيرة اللي ترضع شليتها وإحنا والله نحن حالتنا حالها وما عاد إلا شلونا من رفعونا لمكان عالي. ووصل اليوم جسنا لنا 3 أيام والله نحن في العرب وجاونا الفريق حقهم حق الاستجابة والله ما قصروا قدموا لنا من كل شيء.
Welcome back. A workshop was held in Hadramaut on the importance of food security. It was organized by the UN Relief and Works Agency for Development to strengthen the capacities of civil society organizations to achieve food security. 24 researchers and agriculture engineers in Wadi Hadramaut discussed the threats facing food security and the water crisis and ways to treat it. Community initiatives have been launched throughout the country in coordination with the local authorities to help the people who have been crushed by the conflict. This report has more.
Youth initiatives have become a part of the Yemeni society, and they offer activities of a great impact as they volunteer with their time and effort to help the people. What gives these efforts an influential part is that they come with the partnership of government agencies.
The plan is to partnership with the local authorities to cooperate together with the youth. So we need all the young people to cooperate with us, so we can help the citizens.
The activity initiated by these young people focused on highlighting the aesthetic aspects of the city of Aden.
This youth initiative in Aden is working on developing Aden. These people deserve an appreciation for making the city look neat and clean.
Despite the simplicity of these youthful efforts, they created good impressions among the citizens of the city of Aden who supported the youth and encouraged them.
We want to thank the youth for this initiative and for volunteering with their time and efforts. We really appreciate this hard work.
Self-initiatives helped emanating for society, aiming at activating the role of youth and serving people.
Economic and oil experts called on the government to stop commercial ships to the port of Hodeidah as a response to the attack by the Houthi militia in the oil port of Al Dabba. The experts also called for obligating food agents and all commercial agencies and banks to move their main offices to the temporary capital of Aden. In Rome, the Minister of Agriculture discussed with the representative of the Islamic Development Bank the interventions to support agricultural development projects in Yemen. The discussions dealt with a project to increase market access for small farmers at a cost of $2 million and the possibility of mobilizing resources and searching for funds to contribute to the implementation of the plan. The Director General of Fisheries in Socotra stressed the importance of implementing the regulation in fish gathering. He stressed raising the level of fish production, ending all forms of randomness, banning all kinds of jolting boats to Socotra for the purpose of fishing and receiving, also stopping the Al-Abbari fish from using small boats for fishing and obligating them to receive fish from the Fish Association that falls within its scope. In Lahj, young people have started working on carrying and moving sand as a way to make a living and support their families. This report has more on this.
Many young people in El Sabiha district of Lahj Governorate find the space to live in light of the dwindling of job opportunities and the spread of unemployment. Despite the scarcity of financial compensation for working in this hard and exhausting profession, which has grown significantly in recent years.
كما ترون أننا أعاني من هذا العمل حوالي لي 7 إلى.
As you can see, I suffer from the hardship of this job. I have been working for more than 7 months now under the extreme heat of the sun. We don't have salaries. No one is looking after us. The organizations are not providing any kind of aid. We mainly depend on the sand to provide for our families and get our daily needs.
Young people spend a lot of time and effort in order to get some money to get the basic necessities of life, at a time when high prices are a huge obstacle, and the scarcity of returns from work and torrential rains are among the most significant risks that threaten workers in the assembly of sand and mud that is used in construction.
أبرز الصعوبات التي نواجهها نحن عمال النيس.
One of the main hardships that we face here as workers is that we work for several days in a row. We sell the sand for some days, but others we can't. So we spend so many days with no income at all, till someone comes to buy the sand. Things get a lot worse in rainy seasons. The other problem is that we work so hard, looking for the sand in this valley, and at the end, we sell it for just 7 or 10,000 reals. It's not worth of our efforts and hard work.
Regardless of the effort and time wasted in collecting sand, many young people in El Sabiha area find in the valleys a temporary solution to earn the necessary livelihood. In light of the hardships of life and the scarcity of obtaining sustainable jobs, a path that young people in these areas follow on a daily basis.
Yemen participated in the 85th meeting of Health Ministries of the GCC, which was held at the headquarters of the General Secretariat in Riyadh. The meeting discussed the reports of the Gulf Health Council for the year 2022 and the operational plan for the project submitted by the Council for the year 2023. The meeting stressed the importance of continued cooperation and coordination between the Ministries of Health. UNICEF launched an initiative to make proper health care available for children and families in Yemen. This was conducted with the support of King Salman Relief Organization under the slogan, "For Every Child, Health."
جينا لأن الولد أجا سباعي، والسباعي لازم يحتاج إلى حضانة، والحضانة غير متوفرة إلا في عدن، وسمعت إن في لودر حضانة وجيت إلى مستشفى لودر. إذا رحت لعدن بخسر أولا مواصلة، تمام، مستشفى خاص، أدوية، سكن. بعد ما جيت من هنا حسيت بتحسن واطمأنت على المولود وزوجتي. والله الخدمات متوفرة بكل سهولة، يعني مستشفى نموذجي ومجان وكأنه مستشفى خاص.
Novelist Khadija Bajaber won the Ursula Prize for her novel The House of Rust, which is a novel about the Hadrami diaspora. The novelist is a Hadrami girl who was born and raised in Mombasa. Her father, who worked as a fisherman, disappeared, so she sailed on a magical boat made of a skeleton to save him. Here's a reminder of the main headlines. Yemen National Defense Council labels Houthis as a terrorist group. Houthi attacks on Al Dabba port risk impacting global oil supplies. Government forces defend Houthi attacks on Al Dala front. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.